Carrot and stick. That was the plan for Susan. Jonathan got the hint about the carrot from the eagle's wives. It made sense that three 70-year-old women would know a thing or two about how women think. Obviously, I didn't figure it out, he thought. Susan was in a bad mood after he had disrupted her day, and he had done it deliberately. He decided to take care of the children and give her some quiet time. In the end, he put them to bed, although Cindy, now a big girl, fought to stay up until 9. He compromised by letting her stay up until 9:15 to break up the conversation and perhaps ease his guilt a little for leaving for 2 days. When the house grew quiet, he heard Susan talking on the phone. Maybe it was a lover, or maybe a friend or two she trusted. He didn't know. At that moment, he didn't care. Jonathan opened a bottle of wine and selected 2 crystal glasses for them. He knocked on the bedroom door and waited for her to finish her conversation. Finally, she opened the door and looked at him sadly. "You don't have to knock, it's your bedroom," she said quietly. He walked past her and placed the tray on the nightstand. He remembered how she had closed the door on him a few nights ago. His bedroom. Right. "I didn't want to interrupt your phone call," he explained. It was my sister Jenny. She wanted to know what was going on. Everyone's talking about it, you know. You ruined everything." He hadn't ruined anything. She was the one who had changed him. Now wasn't the time to remind her of that. He poured her a drink, stood up and handed it to her. "Tough week, huh?" He wanted her to open up, to talk. He listened as best he could. She nodded. "Horrible. I never wanted this, Jonathan. I thought things could be like they were before, not like this. Why do you have to make everything so complicated?" He filled his glass and patted the bed next to him. "Come on, sit down next to me, let's talk. Calmly, politely. I still love you, baby." She climbed onto the bed, pulled her shirt up over her hips, and sat cross-legged, facing him. "Talk? Without yelling and accusations?" He reached out and stroked her bare knee. "Yes, let's talk. What went wrong, Susan? How did I disappoint you that you had to look for what you were missing in the arms of another man?" The ice around her heart began to melt. He cared. "It's complicated, dear. I love you. I never stopped loving you. Please tell me you believe that." "Of course I believe you," he said, trying not to lie. "Would we be here if I didn't? This shouldn't have happened. It was just a series of small events. I talked to him at a party. He was so sad and depressed about his life that I tried to cheer him up. The first time I made him smile was a huge success. The first timid chuckle was even more of a success. I felt so good, as if what I was doing mattered." She glanced nervously at her husband, but he just nodded. "I know it's wrong, but I'm tired of just being a mom and a housewife. My days have become a boring routine. Taking care of a baby, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I never found time for myself. You were always so busy. I know, Lord Jonathan, it hurts me to say it. I know you did it for us. For me, for the children, for the family. But all you did was work and come home exhausted, and I felt unloved, as if you didn't care about me. I was just a babysitter and a housekeeper." Jonathan analyzed the advice the older women had given him. Don't argue about what she thinks is right or wrong. Let her come to the right conclusions herself, gently guiding her in the right direction. Let her shift some of the blame onto you, accept it, and she will feel even more guilty. "I'm sorry, baby, I should have seen it. 10 hours a day, 6 days a week is very tiring when you have a physical job like mine. The fact that there was nothing between us doesn't excuse me. I appreciated everything you did, even if I didn't say it." She shook her head, her eyes shining. "I know it's not your fault. I could have talked to you about it more, but I felt like you were pulling away from me. You didn't have time for me, for us. You started drinking more. It seemed like you were always sitting on the couch with a beer in your hand. I started to hate that damn couch and the TV. You always had time for them, but not for me." Jonathan let her finish. "I'm under a lot of stress. It was my way of relieving the tension. I didn't want you to feel the same way I did. We were laying people off, the workload was increasing, and the schedule was tight. I should have talked to you about it instead of keeping it all to myself." She sniffed and wiped her eyes. "I was bored, and it became my project. From the beginning, it was everything to me. Nothing had happened for a whole year. I didn't feel that way about him, I swear. I liked helping him, watching him gradually come back to himself. I felt needed. And that was exactly what I needed. That was our whole problem. It wasn't a lack of love, it wasn't our intimate relationship, and it wasn't that I fell out of love with you. I never stopped loving you. I was doing something that made me happy, and I was proud of it. I didn't do anything wrong except spend too much time with another man, but it wasn't romantic. It was like a job, one I was good at. I understand how that could have happened. Everyone needs to feel good about themselves. I hope that being a wonderful mother and wife would help me do that. I understand that you didn't get from us what you got from him. It was getting harder and harder for Jonathan to keep up the pretense. She hadn't done anything wrong, so why had she hidden it for a year? She finished her wine and Jonathan refilled her glass. She took a long, grateful sip. It all happened so fast I wasn't ready for it. At first it was slow. A few phone calls, a few lunches or coffees. We talked like we weren't talking to each other anymore. He was easy to talk to. He wanted to go out to dinner, but I couldn't. I was married. There's a difference between lunch and dinner. I offered to cook dinner for him. At first, it was a little strange to be in an unfamiliar kitchen, not knowing where anything was. To be honest, it was a little unsettling. But I didn't have romantic feelings for him. He was just a friend. Jonathan filled his glass. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't need the whole story. He just wanted her to tell him what was wrong with their marriage, why she had to spend a whole year having fun with another man. Not this tedious monologue about friendship. Men don't need women as friends. He knew that this disgusting bastard had wanted to get into his wife's pants from the very beginning. He wanted to shake her and explain everything to her. Make her understand. Play the role of the poor excuse maker. Play on her maternal feelings. Instead, he tried to remain calm, nodding from time to time. After that, it was easier for us to go to his place than to public places. There we were alone and could talk more openly. Besides, I didn't want anyone to think anything about us. We were just friends. She looked at him hopefully, hoping he would understand her. Go on, Jonathan said. It was so nice to talk. Of course, now he would understand. That was all they needed. A little time for him to get over the shock, for his male pride to take a back seat. Once he understood the reason, everything would be fine. I helped him around the house. He was so disorganized, I cleaned a little, helped him organize his things. After the accident with his wife, he stopped taking care of himself. We started talking more. We could talk about anything. Sometimes we talked about our desires and needs. Then more about our desires, our fantasies, about what we do or want to do. It was communication, time spent together, understanding. She seduced you, Jonathan muttered, not wanting to say the words. She looked surprised. No, never. He was a friend, a person who needed me and who I needed. Good friends can talk about things like that. That's what it's all about. He's not like that. Jonathan bit his lip, waiting. If he opened his mouth, all the effort of the night would be wasted. He tilted the bottle and poured her a glass. It just happened. I was in the kitchen and we started kissing. I know I should have stopped, but it was just a kiss between friends. And then we suddenly stopped. I don't even know how I ended up in his bedroom. Her hand was shaking as she sipped her wine. She looked at him, and he saw tears in her eyes. I didn't want it to happen. I felt terrible. I came home, took a shower, washed myself, washed myself, washed myself, washed myself, washed myself, washed myself, but I couldn't clean myself. I cheated on you once in our entire marriage, and I hated myself for it. I knew you would see it in my eyes, but you just grabbed a beer and sat down on the couch. You didn't ask me any questions. You didn't see my guilt. I thought you didn't care. She drank half the wine. I tried to end it. He called, and I told him to stop. I avoided him, didn't go anywhere we used to go. I swore to myself that I would never do anything like that again, and that I would make it up to you. Then I heard he was in the hospital with an overdose of sleeping pills, and I knew it was because of me. I almost killed him. I went to him to help, but we promised each other it would never happen again. I'm so sorry, Jonathan. I tried to stop him. I swear I tried. I felt so bad when I saw him leaving again. Jonathan was furious. At his stupid, gullible wife and at that vile predator. An overdose, he thought. A few pills, a call to the hospital, and she came back to him, even though she resisted his advances. The despicable bastard. Jonathan took the empty glass from her and placed it on the nightstand. She was sobbing, and he pulled her close and held her. If only she had told him then. All of this could have been avoided. He could have forgiven her for one stupid mistake. He was sure he could have. But a year of cheating? Demanding that she be allowed to continue seeing that scumbag. Threatening him. No, he couldn't accept that. She would pay for this. They would both pay. He led her to the bed. Love me, Jonathan. Please. This has gone on too long, she whispered. No, baby. I won't be second best to him. I can't do that. She reached out to him. You'll never be second best. I love you. You're my husband. You're first, he's second. My nights belong to you. They always have. You spent 2 nights in his bed. I have no doubt that as soon as I leave for work, you'll be entertaining him again. I have a few minutes to be with you, and he can spend all his time with you, pampering you, telling you how wonderful you are, taking you away from me. I can't let that happen. Honey, it hasn't been a problem for over a year. You don't even need to know. When I'm here with you, I'm only yours. He tried. Damn, he tried. The words were like knives stabbing him. He let her go and rolled over on his side. Damn it, bitch. I married a goddamn cheating bitch. Susan couldn't understand what had just happened. He had been so good, so loving, so understanding. And suddenly he was so distant. Why couldn't he just love her? Nothing had changed. She moved closer to him. What if she had stopped then? After the first time. She sighed. Now it was too late. She had to make him understand. Nothing would have changed. Everything could have been fine again. Maybe even wonderful, like it was in the beginning. Please, Jonathan, she whispered. I'm here for you. I'll always be here. Never again. Not while you're with him, Jonathan said coldly and turned away from her, lying on his stomach. Susan turned away from him, feeling the pain of rejection. She didn't even try to hold back the tears as she fell asleep. Next chapter. The next morning, Jonathan woke up early and feeling refreshed. It was a new day, and he no longer felt like he was losing control. He told his wife and her lover about their behavior and insisted that they stop. With the help of family and friends, he began taking steps to end the situation. This included quitting his job and returning to the family ranch. It also meant getting up early. Susan was still in bed when he went downstairs for a quick breakfast. He wondered if she had run off during the day to have fun with her boyfriend. At the ranch, Uncle Len introduced him to the people, most of whom he already knew. He was told about his duties and assigned to look after old Miguel, who had worked for the family for a good 20 years. Uncle Len told him to come to the house at lunchtime. There was a large table set, and he smiled when he saw his grandfather and friends waiting for him. He quickly, in 10 minutes, told them about his weekend, his conversation with his mother and his wife's family. He told them about his visit to the casino, omitting the female company he had found there. He analyzed his actions with his wife and his confrontation with the bastard. When he finished, his grandfather spoke. You should know that the Gray Brigade has taken this matter into their own hands. The Gray Brigade? Jonathan asked. The colonel replied, a center for the elderly, all retirees. They need a little excitement in their lives. If that slut keeps behaving like that, she'll have to answer for it. That's for sure. Mage Johnson lives across the street, a couple of houses down from that bastard, said Carl Jenkins. Her daughter works in my shop. She'll keep an eye on the house. If anyone comes or goes, Mage and her sister will know. The judge laughed. Her parents will hear too. I'm sorry to hear what kind of woman your daughter has become. Is that why your other daughter left? I'm glad I didn't fall out of favor with them. You need to talk to the bank, John. Bring all your contact information to my house. When you fall behind on your payments, we don't want them calling your house and your whore wife finding out, said his grandfather. The judge took out some papers. Guy's wife, deceased. Her name was Heather. I have some photos of her. Buried in a Methodist cemetery. Pretty ugly. He was thrown out of the car, she was trapped inside. She could have died from the impact, but the car caught fire and she burned beyond recognition. The lawsuit he won was related to that. The car had a history of catching fire in accidents. Jonathan nodded. Good information for the job. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. We'll take care of ourselves. He had his own instructions. Cold and distant with his wife. Start a program against this bastard. Continue to protect the assets. Transfer all financial contacts to his grandfather's house. By the end of the day, Jonathan's whole body ached in places he didn't even know existed. It was nice to get some fresh air and spend time with old friends. He returned home, cleaned himself up, and got to work on his second job, his wife. Next chapter. That evening, Rich Patton received a call from a blocked number. Hello? I'm hurting, Richie. How could you do this to me? I'm in so much pain, whispered a trembling female voice. He remembered lying on the hard asphalt, watching the car engulfed in flames with his young wife still inside. He dropped the phone, and those words brought the pain back. "Ah!" cried the voice on the other end, still audible from where he stood. Next chapter. "No, you can't bring the kids here for us to look after," Brenda snapped. "But Mom, I have to go out," Susan said. "Take your kids with you. They're your damn kids, Susan." "It takes much longer with 3 children," she explained. "What else do you have to do? You have a job, and you hardly do anything around the house. Are you really going to run off with that bastard you're having fun with?" Her mother sneered. "He's not a bastard. He's a good man. You don't understand. I understand that he's a worthless man who's having fun with someone else's wife. God, you've disappointed your father and me so much. We can't even walk through town without someone reminding us what a whore you've become." "Mom, how can you say that? Dump that bastard and crawl back to your husband. Beg him for forgiveness. Maybe it's not too late to save your marriage." "I didn't do anything wrong," Susan protested. "He's the one who should apologize to me." She was shocked to hear only a busy signal on the line. Next chapter. Max Schritter sat at the table and addressed the gathering. They were sitting in the card room at the senior center, the door closed. There were more women than men, but everyone understood the situation. They had already divided up the responsibilities. The phone lines would be open until late at night. The first step was to inform the Gray Brigade. The second was to start putting pressure on the next generation. Make it clear what behavior was acceptable and what was not. In a few days, the whole town would know about it. It's not about cheating. It happened. Hell, probably more than half the group had made a few mistakes, maybe even more than once. But the blatant disrespect, the expectation that a spouse would put up with constant cheating, that she would leave her family, that she would be able to preserve the rest of her life, her family, and her friends, was too much. No, they agreed that it was unforgivable behavior on the part of both spouses. Make up or break up, but not like this. Disgusting. Generation me. They would be reminded of it, reproached, insulted, and condemned wherever they went. No, such behavior could not be allowed. Responsibilities were assigned, tasks were set, options were discussed and weighed. When the room was almost empty, the colonel sat down at the table with his 5 assistants. "This is the most unpleasant part. Do we all understand what this will lead to? The risk?" All his comrades agreed. They were ready for the task ahead. John Crum took charge. Copies of the keys to his house were distributed, straight from his wife's keyring to Jenkins' dispatch room, and then into the hands of the criminals. Photographs, articles, documents, love letters, everything they could gather. The first step was to gather more information. They would be notified when he left the house. Gray's network would keep an eye on him. As soon as they determined the right moment, the first break-in would take place, and they would gather as much information as possible. Only then would the smear campaign begin in earnest. Some people felt a little uncomfortable about what they were about to do, but not enough to stop. Next chapter. Susan parked in the garage and quickly closed the door behind her. She took off her hat and sunglasses, embarrassed by her change of clothes. It was ridiculous. She had every right to see Rich. She entered the house through the garage and eagerly accepted his embrace. They didn't talk about anything except how much they missed each other as they walked to his bedroom, quickly undressed, and fell onto the bed. Half an hour and 2 sessions later, he got up and stared at her. "How could you ruin everything? No one at the firm will even talk to me." Susan was stunned by his accusation. How had she ruined everything? He had used her for his own pleasure, not caring about her satisfaction after the nights she had given him. She was the one who had to face her husband, his anger and accusations, and now it was her fault? "You wanted to stop hiding. You wanted to spend the night at my place. It was your idea to tell him, to make him accept us, to threaten him with divorce and children." "How the hell did that become everyone's idea?" he snapped. "I don't know. Gossip. He told his family and mine. They're still barely talking to me. The rumors must have spread. You were supposed to keep this a secret just between us. How did he find out it was me, where I live?" Rich was beside himself with rage. "How could I have known? I talked to him like we agreed. I told him how it was. You're a man. You should have known how he'd react. I'm not some Neanderthal who can't keep his woman. Do I have to have half my brain cut out to think like him?" Susan couldn't believe what he was saying. Disrespect, anger. Where did that come from? She started to get dressed before saying something she would regret. Rich reached out to her. Where are you going? We're not done yet. You just got here. We haven't seen each other all week. You shouldn't talk about Jonathan like that. He didn't do anything wrong. He's a good man. We're the ones who want to change the rules. A good man? Spreading rumors and gossip about us? Ignoring you? Disrespecting you? What's so good about that? Rich snapped, standing between her and the door. I have to go. I'll be late. He pulled her toward him. What about us, Susie Q? I miss you. We need to spend time together. Tell him you're staying the night. He already knows. We need to fix our relationship. You're everything to me. You know how much I love you. I can't live without you for even a few days. I need you. She listened to his pleas, knowing it was true. Without her, he would quickly return to his old life. She cupped his face in her hands and kissed him gently. We'll figure something out. No sleepovers. What will I tell the kids? You'll turn them against their parents again, she sighed. A hell will freeze over before they see them again. They made that clear. She started to pull away, but he clung to her, needing her help. Come back when they're asleep. I need to feel you in my arms again when I fall asleep. Don't you want that? She nodded, but if she was honest with herself, she would admit that she hated being away from her children at night. She didn't sleep well at Rich's house. She smiled to herself. In fact, when she thought about it, she hardly slept at all. Next chapter. Max answered Madge's call. The bitch had spent almost 2 hours with him, sneaking around like a thief in the night. He called his daughter and scolded her. What were you thinking, Caroline? Watching the kids while she was out having fun? She said she was looking for a job, filling out applications. And you believe that lying whore after everything she's done? Caroline was not in a good mood when Susan showed up at her door 20 minutes late. She helped gather the children and put them in the car. Before Susan could drive away, Caroline grabbed her arm. Never again, you lying bitch. Using me to cover your ass while you're having fun with my son. Susan flinched at the harsh words. I didn't. Save your lies for someone else. You stink. You could have at least cleaned yourself up before taking my grandchildren. What's wrong with you? In the battle between shame and anger, anger won. If you don't want to see the children, I don't mind. I didn't do anything wrong. You'll never have to look at them again. You'll be happy if you can see them. Susan recoiled when Caroline's hand brushed her face. He's right. You're just a whore. Next chapter. Jonathan sat with his grandfather after a long, hard day. The last thing he wanted to hear was about his wife mocking him. I don't want to know, Grandpa. Honestly, I don't care. She asked your mother to watch the kids, said she was writing job applications or some other nonsense. Jonathan was overcome with rage, his hands shaking. No one watches my children unless I say so. No one. Not you, not Mom, not even the neighbor babysitter. Don't blame your mother. She was trying to do the right thing. She has a right to see her grandchildren. I don't blame her. She's a lying whore living under my roof. I'll talk to my mom myself. Next chapter. Mom, what's Jezebel? Cindy asked. What? What? Susan was surprised to hear her eldest daughter's words. Grandma Dana said you're Jezebel. Susan felt her blood pressure rise. She had no right. That old bitch had no right to talk to her daughter like that. It's okay, honey. That's just how old people talk. But not in front of her daughter if she could help it. No more dates with Dana. That was for sure. Next chapter. Rich ignored the stares and whispers as he entered his former employer's office. It was good to maintain a relationship, and monthly lunches were one way to do that. He waited patiently in the lobby. After 20 minutes, he realized something was wrong. Every new person who came out of the elevator glanced at him and whispered. No one looked him in the eye. Something was wrong. He called out. Jean, I'm in the lobby. We're having lunch, he said. There was silence on the other end of the line. I don't think I can make it today. Did something happen? I haven't seen Eric or Dan. It's just not a good time right now. Things are dragging on. Maybe another time. I'm really busy. I have to go. Rich listened to the silence on the other end of the line. A quick call to Eric didn't yield anything good. Eric, we've been having lunch together for 2 years. What's going on? There was anger in the man's voice. Your girlfriend? You made us believe you were serious, that you were engaged. You never told us she was married with 3 children. You used us to cover for yourself. Now we all feel like idiots. My wife will kill me if I go to dinner with you. No, I don't think we're going to dinner anytime soon. He looked up from his phone, feeling a gaze on him. He headed for the revolving glass door, blending in with the crowd leaving the building. Is a year. She's married, he heard someone whisper in front of him. A cake, and he's also 3 children, came from behind him. 2 million to kill his wife, echoed in his ears as he hurried down the sidewalk. Next chapter. The end of summer was a busy time on the ranch. From dawn to dusk, they checked the hedges, worked on irrigation, and drove the herds from pasture to pasture. The second hay harvest was approaching and was in full swing while the weather held. Uncle Len followed many of Grandpa Max's traditions. The ranch was largely mechanized, and pickup trucks had replaced horses for many jobs. The Schritters still adhered to the practice of riding as little as possible and for short distances. Gasoline was expensive. Most of the work had to be done on horseback, especially when it came to moving herds and checking pastures. Jonathan had forgotten how exhausting it was to sit on a horse for 10 hours a day, how exhausting it was to carry 40-kilogram backpacks, dig trenches, and replace fence posts. He looked forward to haying season, which consisted mainly of riding. Most of the ranch workers were laborers by necessity. The standard motto on the ranch was, "If it's broken, fix it." His experience with cars, engines, and other mechanics was almost revered. The ranch didn't send out machines for work. If something broke, Jonathan could fix it. He may not have been experienced in field work, awkwardly herding stray cows, but his mechanical skills and willingness to do whatever was needed earned him the admiration of his fellow ranchers. He enjoyed it. Every evening he came home tired, exhausted, and hungry, but he couldn't remember a time when he had been so satisfied with his accomplishments at the end of the day. It was only when he came home and was met with anger, disrespect, and condemnation from his supposed wife and partner that his spirit sank. Every evening, as he entered the house, he tensed up, remembering his plans and goals. This won't last forever, he told himself. Next chapter. The first photo of the charred body was slipped under Rich's door shortly after he went to bed. It was horrific, almost unrecognizable as a human being. Someone had written in white marker, "Heather Patton, burned alive, now burning in hell." His hands trembled as he picked up the photo. How could someone do something so terrible, so disgusting? Didn't they know how sorry he was? How badly he was hurt? It was an accident. It wasn't his fault. He loved her. He sat on the floor and cried himself to sleep. Next chapter. Susan was unloading the grocery cart. What should have taken only 20 minutes took over an hour. The children ran into the house, each carrying a bag. It was painful to see their judgmental looks. No one wanted to talk to her, but whispers followed her everywhere. In some cases, she could barely hold back her laughter. Did the whole world know about her relationship? "Hello, Susan," a curious neighbor greeted her, almost running across the street. Damn, that was the last thing she needed right now. "Hello, Marge. So how's that young lover of yours?" Susan felt herself blush. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Come on, Susie. You can tell me. Everyone knows. You and that young lawyer who killed his wife. Isn't that exciting? Maybe even thrilling?" Susan couldn't believe the words coming out of her neighbor's mouth. It was an accident. He didn't kill her. He paid well for the accident. So what was it? You wouldn't have left Jonathan for some loser if he wasn't so good in bed. I mean, really? Leave a real man for that skinny boy? Susan slammed the back door of the car, turned around, and walked into the house without saying a word. Next chapter. Jonathan hugged her as she cried in their bed. He was very pleased with how things had turned out. "What happened, baby?" "They're horrible. Everyone is horrible to me. They think I'm a whore." "You are a whore," he thought. "Hush," he whispered. "Everything will be fine. Do what's right and don't pay any attention to them." Why can't they understand? Haven't they ever loved anyone? I can't help how I feel. You still have us. Your family. We love you. She sobbed. "Love? Do you love me, Jonathan?" "I've always loved you." "Love me, Jonathan. Please," she begged. "God, I wish I could. I want you so much," he lied. "You can. I haven't been with him. Not since that night. I'm yours, darling." He continued to lie. Madge had told her she'd seen her at his place just a week ago. 3 hours. At least she hadn't thrown it in his face. Some progress, at least. "I'm scared," he said quietly. I know you're not the only woman he's been with. I don't know if he gave you anything, some kind of disease. She tensed. How can you think that? I can't be with you until I know you're healthy. But we've been together for a year and we haven't had any problems. Thanks for reminding me. Whore. He thought for a moment. I got tested. I'm healthy. It's not fair to risk the lives of our children. He's having fun with other women. Who knows what diseases they might have? He wouldn't do that. He loves me. You love me, and you did this, Jonathan reminded her. I'm your wife, Jonathan. He pulled her close and hugged her. Only when I'm sure you're clean and you're not seeing him anymore. Next chapter. Magazines began to arrive. Miss Cosmo, Good Housekeeping, Southern Living, Home and Garden, all addressed to Heather Patton. A constant reminder. A large photograph hung on his front door, her gravestone. It had been defaced. Under the words loving wife, someone had written, killed and replaced by a traitor. He tore the photo into small pieces and spent hours scrubbing the inscription off the gravestone with chalk until the last dot disappeared. The police arrived, questioned him about his actions, and threatened to charge him with vandalism. He flew into a rage, screaming and crying, and had to be handcuffed before he calmed down enough to explain. They checked his ID and compared it to the inscription on the gravestone. One of the policemen looked at him with disgust. Ah, you, the murderer's wife. Yes, we know you. 3 days later, he was cleaning her gravestone again. Next chapter. Yes, I received your previous messages. No, I can't pay. I lost my job and I have no money. Max Schritter hung up the phone with a smirk. The third call in 2 weeks. Everything was going according to plan. He looked at the photo in his hand and smiled. He would give it to the boy after work. It should help. It wouldn't prove anything, but it would sow the seeds of discontent. He scanned the papers scattered across the kitchen table. Notes, comments, a biography. Information gleaned from the bastard's home. A wealth of information. For Max, it was interesting, fun, something to keep himself busy. A new goal, albeit a temporary one. Righting wrongs. Punishing the guilty. These two were very, very guilty. The next chapter. The ranch didn't close on weekends. Jonathan worked, but he took his family with him. He lifted his eldest daughter onto the saddle of an old quarter horse. Do you really think it's safe? Susan asked. 4 generations have done it. Buttercup is a gentle horse. She'll take care of our girl. Cindy beamed with pride as she stroked the mare's mane, leaning down and talking to her. Jonathan took the reins and began to walk around, watching his firstborn, keeping an eye on her balance, nudging her knees to show her how to sit properly. He found it amusing how girls always wanted to ride horses so badly. After a few laps, he handed the reins to his daughter and let her smile warm his heart. She had already mastered the old Western saddle and was gliding along with the horse. He could see the horse changing, calming down. She knew her helper was comfortable, and that made everything right. Your turn? He asked Susan. Mine? Are you crazy? She replied. Come on, Susan, relax, give it a try. Gently nudging her, he lifted her into the saddle and began to explain. She was nervous, much more so than Cindy had ever been. His daughter seemed to have been born in the saddle. She led the horse alongside her mother, talking and laughing until Susan relaxed enough to move faster than a crawl. Jonathan slipped his leg into the stirrup and climbed onto the gray horse's back. Stroking its neck and patting its hooves, he set off at a trot, then slowed to a more leisurely pace when he reached the 2 girls. Not too bad, huh? Do you do this every day for several hours? Susan asked. Sometimes, every day is different. There are days when I hardly leave the garage. Do you like it? She asked. I do. He looked at his daughter, seeing her energy, her desire to do more, to trot, to gallop, to become one with her horse. He reproached himself for not teaching her to ride earlier. They were farmers, 5 generations of them. It was in their blood. He was foolish to deny it. Next chapter. Rich sat down on the bed and listened. Crying again, he thought. It stopped. He closed his eyes, trying to fall asleep. But it was useless. When the quiet crying resumed, he pulled the pillow over his head, trying to block it out. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Outside, John took another sip of warm coffee. Another hour and his shift would be over. He adjusted his headphones and listened to the whimpering of that bastard. He pressed the remote, turning on the 3rd recording. The sound of a burning fire. "It was an accident," he heard himself shout. He gave the bastard 5 minutes and turned on the first recording, pitiful sobbing. It wasn't easy. Sometimes he felt goosebumps running down his back, and he knew it was Diana on the tape. Next chapter. Jonathan? He reached out and put his arm around his wife's waist. Yes, honey. I need money. I'm almost out of gas. Jonathan pulled his arm away abruptly. Get it from your lover. Please. I have an interview at Jenkins's store. I didn't know you were looking for a job, he said. I'm worried about our finances. Nancy can go to kindergarten this year, and I can work while the kids are at school. You're not going to spend that money on dates with your lover, are you? No, Jonathan, I promise. It's for gas so I can drive to interviews and take care of our kids. What if something unexpected comes up? I'm out of gas. He took out his wallet and handed her two $20 bills. I trust you. Please don't embarrass me. I wouldn't. I love you. You've done this before, Jonathan said coldly. She lowered her head. Why wasn't Rich answering her calls? Was he really seeing someone else? An image flashed before her eyes. The prostitute from his old office leaving his house. He was hugging her. Had he replaced her so quickly? They hadn't spoken in over a week. I'm sorry. Next chapter. Jonathan looked at his paycheck. The 50% he received directly was barely a third of what he had earned at his previous job. He wouldn't even have that if Uncle Len hadn't raised his salary when he took over maintenance of all the equipment on the ranch. With the money his grandfather received secretly, it wasn't much less than he had earned before overtime. Uncle Len said that if he stayed at the ranch, he would get a share of the profits. Only 1% a year for the first 5 years, but it could be a nice bonus. He would become a partner. It wasn't much, but there was a certain pride in it. He would never be that majority owner. That would go to the older Len, although Will hadn't shown any interest in the family business yet. That was how it was decided. But his mother received 10% of the profits, and if he persisted, that share might one day pass to him. He pulled up his pants, thinking he would soon have to buy new ones. This was the second time he had had to change them. He didn't know his waist size, but he had to make 2 new loops in his belt. Working in the fields was changing him. He joined the other workers for a drink at the Spur and Saddle Bar to celebrate payday. Mikey, a giant with a child's name, nudged him in the side. That mare seems to have her eye on you. Jonathan looked at the table where 3 women were sitting. A pretty red-haired mare was definitely staring at him. He caught the bartender's eye. What are they drinking? He asked, nodding toward the table. Shiner beer. Me too. The old bartender nodded and winked at him, setting a mug in front of him. He walked over to the table and stopped next to an empty chair, holding out his hand. Just so you know, I'm not Greek. The girls looked at each other in confusion until a smile appeared on the redhead's face. Do you have gifts? She asked. He winked at her, put the jug on the table, took an old one, filled their glasses, and returned with them to the bar. A moment later, the blonde tapped him on the shoulder. You're joking, right? You're not even going to have a beer with us? I'm used to drinking beer, he explained. She looked at his glass. Jonathan smiled. Jim Beam has never made me want to throw up. Then bring your Jim Beam and join us. It was a pleasant hour spent in the company of pretty girls. He got 2 phone numbers and 3 hugs, one of which was accompanied by a light kiss. Maybe his grandfather was right. It was the easiest thing in the world. Next chapter. Susan's life turned into a nightmare. She became the laughingstock of the whole town, ridiculed and insulted everywhere she went. She gave up her expensive coffee and switched to Dunkin' Donuts. It was all she could afford. She waited at the gate for the old man to bring her coffee. He looked at her, turned away from the window, walked around the corner for a second, then came back with a smirk on his face. He handed her the coffee through the window. 1 Cheater's special, he said, grinning. Her hand shook with anger as she took the coffee. She noticed that the lid wasn't closed. She didn't want to think about what he had done to her. She remembered the scene she had made at McDonald's, complaining about the service. She had been humiliated and laughed out of the store, and the manager had laughed just as loudly as everyone else. She glared at him, opened the lid, and poured the coffee. The bastard smiled. Maybe you're not as stupid as they say you are. Next chapter. Rich was afraid to turn on his phone. He didn't know when his wife would call again, hounding him. blaming him for her unhappiness and pain. Logically, he knew it wasn't her, but when he was awakened by whispers begging him to stop hurting her, all logic left him. He felt eyes on him wherever he went, judgmental, accusing, condemning. He wasn't guilty of anything. Why couldn't they understand? It was an accident. The worst part was the little notes, tiny reminders written in her neat handwriting. Remember that little chocolate bar? Do you still have that dress? The one I wore on our anniversary? Cancun, Richie. Remember Cancun? Why, Richie? Why? Yes, he remembered everything. He opened the album that Susan had hidden to steal his memories. How beautiful Heather looked on the deck of the ship, the trip to the ruins. God, how he loved her. And now she was dead. It was his fault. He took another swig from the bottle, feeling a burning sensation in his throat. She had trusted him, and he had let her down. He didn't want that. It was an accident, my love, he muttered, and tears ran down the photograph. Next chapter. Max, the judge, the colonel, and John sat looking over their notes. The colonel spread out a map with colored dots marking all their meetings over the past month. Do you think he'll run away soon? He hardly ever shows up in public, John Crumb asked, looking over the latest entries. He'll break down long before she does. She's stubborn, Max said. There was admiration in his voice. Maybe we should slow down, give them both time to realize how bad things are, the judge asked. Hell no, Max replied sharply. She wants to be stubborn. We'll make her stronger. The judge shook his head. Judith won't like that, he muttered. Next chapter. Susan wiped her face in shock. That old woman had spat on her, spat in her face. She was sitting near the calf, where they usually met. It had been almost 2 weeks since she had heard from him. She had even mustered the courage to go to his house, but he hadn't answered the door. His car was parked there, so he must have been nearby. She opened the door with her key, but it was locked. Rich, she called. Rich, honey. It's me. There was no answer. The house smelled sour. He looked gloomy. Maybe he had left. Left with that whore from the photo. Left in her car. How could he do that to her? What had she done wrong? She rushed through her memories, returning to their calf, the place where they had talked for so long. She sat there, remembering his voice, his touch. She was lost in her memories. Slut, hissed a woman passing by on the sidewalk, past the railing surrounding the bar. Susan looked up and felt saliva fall on her face. She was in shock. She heard whispers around her, ringing laughter. She wiped her face with a napkin, tears streaming down her cheeks. How had her life turned into a nightmare so quickly? She had everything. A loving family, a good man, young love. And now, all she had left were memories and the hatred of everyone she knew. It wasn't fair. What had she done wrong? She couldn't do anything about it. She never wanted this, never sought it. It was love. Undeniable. It wasn't her fault. She looked up when an older man sat down across from her. He grinned. A pretty girl like you shouldn't be crying. Can I buy you a drink? She shook her head. No, thank you. I'm married. He shrugged. I've never heard that stop anyone. Come on, let's have a drink, have some fun. You're absolutely charming. Have fun? Was that really all she was now? Please leave me alone, she said. He stood up and leaned toward her. If you change your mind, we'll be at the Spur and Saddle. Have you ever been with 3 guys? We'll keep you entertained all night. Leave me alone, she shouted at him. Hey, lady. I'm not a cow. I just thought a party girl likes to party. No offense, okay? She covered her face with her hands and didn't hold back her tears. Next chapter. Jonathan watched as his grandfather placed the rope in his son's hands. He showed him how to keep the loop open, how far apart to hold the 2 ropes about a foot apart, and the lasso's eye. He explained how to wind the rope correctly and how to hold it with his free hand. Their target was a pole sticking out of a haystack. On his 3rd attempt, he swung the rope to the side, then over his head, learning at the last moment to quickly throw his arm forward, and the loop kept its shape, falling onto the pole. Both he and Susan applauded him, as did Cindy. Little Nancy was busy playing with her grandfather's old service dog, a 12-year-old blue heeler named Blue. He couldn't remember a time when his grandfather didn't have at least one dog. They were working dogs, they lived outside, but he took care of them, and when they started to limp and become slow and clumsy from beatings, he didn't put them down. No, he couldn't do that. They were his friends, and no one could say he wasn't devoted to them. They had moved into this house, grown old, gotten fat, and spoiled. They had lived their lives with their only master. They craved a light touch, a word of praise. They were always by his side. Their devotion was rewarded. Grandpa reached out and squeezed Joey's shoulder. Jonathan remembered that touch. How good it had felt. Not perfect, but it's a start. It was the closest thing to praise he could muster. Someday, he would learn to appreciate it. He felt Susan press herself against him and hugged her shoulders. He's good with the kids. I never expected that, she said quietly. He's always been like that. Some of the best days of my life were here with him and Dad. We had some wonderful times, didn't we? She said, hugging him around the waist. It had been so great to be together as a family, doing things with the kids, enjoying the outdoors. Yes. It's not too late, is it? To have more, as a family, as husband and wife. He shrugged. I don't know, Susan. Honestly, I don't know. Next chapter. Rich stood in the reception area and pleaded with the woman sitting there. Please, I have to see her. She must have some free time. The gray-haired woman pretended to check her calendar. I'm very sorry, Mr. Patton. Dr. Schaefer is very busy. Maybe next week. Oh, I'm sorry, she's on vacation next week. Maybe the week after. You'd better call ahead. I've tried. You have to help me. I don't know what to do. I'm very sorry, sir. It won't be possible for at least 2 weeks. Would you like to make an appointment for then? I can get you in for Thursday at 3:30 p.m. next week. 5 minutes, that's all I need. 5 minutes. Can she at least renew my prescriptions? She's very busy today, getting ready for her vacation. Why don't you go home and I'll talk to her when I can? We'll call you if she can see you tomorrow before she leaves. Rich nodded slowly and turned to leave, slouching in defeat. Get out of here, you despicable wife-stealer, Ellen thought. She picked up the phone and dialed the number. Next chapter, Susan hung up. She didn't know why she had even tried. All she heard was a busy signal. He couldn't be on the phone that often. Where was he when she needed him? She had sacrificed so much to help him. Her time, her loyalty, her family, maybe even her marriage. She had come running when he called, and now he was ignoring her. It wasn't fair. Susan didn't know that blocking her calls was the easiest thing he could have done. The last time John Crumb was at that bastard's house, he picked up the phone, dialed 60, and went through the menu until he blocked her home and cell phones. Jonathan did the same with their home phone and her cell, blocking incoming calls from that bastard. It would be more than a day in hell before they started calling each other on those phones. Next chapter. Jonathan jerked the reins to the side, chasing away a stubborn old cow. It seemed to him that she had bolted out of the gate for some reason instead of following the rest of the herd to the new pasture. She turned and seemed to head for the bushes, but Vincent, his sheepdog, bit her on the front leg, forcing her to turn back to him. He saw her shift her weight uncertainly and thought she might be injured. It took him a lot of effort to drive her where he wanted her to go. 2 ropes around her neck and an hour of struggle had exhausted her so much that he was able to approach her safely. This kind of work is best done with 2 people, but there were few people around that day. He could manage on his own. Miguel found him there, treating a cut on the cow's leg, and slowly approached. He didn't want to scare her. It's dangerous alone, said the old man. I didn't want her to get tangled in the bushes or limp away. I thought I'd take care of it an hour ago. An experienced eye checked his work and nodded disapprovingly. Hey, can you manage? Yes, she'll be at the gate in an hour. Close it behind you. Jonathan felt a pride in his work that he hadn't felt in a very long time. His shoulders ached, his hands were scraped, and he'd be lucky to make it back before dark. He was happier than he had any right to be. He untied the ropes and spoke softly to calm the cow. Vincent lay patiently a few feet away. He patted the young dog on the head, praising him for a job well done. Good boy, Vincent. He smiled, remembering the name Joey had chosen for him. His son thought the dog's coat color, a mixture of blue, black, and gray with a large light gray patch on his side, reminded him of Vincent van Gogh's painting Starry Night. Jonathan had never seen the painting, but he was proud that the boy knew who Van Gogh was. Grandpa agreed that Vincent was a better name than dog. Next chapter. Susan came out the back door of the ranch looking for her children. Her feet hurt from standing so long, but now she was with her family again. She saw a group of men gathered in a circle inside the fence. She rushed forward, seeing that a fight was breaking out. Lena's wife, Grace, leaned against the fence. She grabbed Susan's arm. "Leave them alone." "What's going on?" Susan asked desperately. She noticed her son standing next to Jason Crumb, one of the boys from Cindy's class. Turning around, Joey saw that her son had a black eye and a swollen lip. Strangely, he was smiling. "They're teaching your boy self-defense," Grace explained, holding Susan's tense arm. "I don't want him to fight, and I don't think you want him to get beaten up." Susan was surprised to see her daughter Cindy come out with a tray of drinks. The 10-year-old girl walked over to her brother and stopped in front of him, letting him choose first. Then she turned to Jason and blushing offered him one. "What is this all about?" Cindy would beat Joey better than she would wait for him. "They fight like cats and dogs." Grace pulled Susan toward the railing and hugged her waist. "He saved her life. He protected her, and he got his ass kicked for it." Susan sighed. He doesn't fight. We don't let him." "It's a good thing he did it today." A couple of boys from school decided that since Cindy was her mother's daughter, she'd be easy. She'd be a pushover. They caught her behind the bleachers. "She managed to take off her shirt before your boy jumped on them with his fists." That's what Jason said. "Jason took care of it. Fighting doesn't solve anything. They should have gone to the teachers." Grace looked at her with disgust. "Are you stupid? If they had gone down that road, she would have been defiled. Those little shitheads would probably have gotten a slap on the wrist. Maybe not even that. Sometimes a man has to stand up for what's right, even if he's only waist deep. He could have been killed. That doesn't change anything. You should be proud of him. For his family, for protecting his sister like that. Men will teach him how to take a punch. Leave the boy alone. It's their world." Cindy walked over to them, leaned against the railing, and started watching. "Are you okay, sweetie?" Susan asked hesitantly. Her daughter replied, her eyes fixed on the crowd. "He's wonderful, isn't he, Mommy?" The admiration in her daughter's eyes was unmistakable. "Who, Cindy?" "Jason. The way he beat up those jerks. They'll never touch me again. Not while Jason and Joey are around." Susan didn't hear Max come up behind her. "You raised a damn good kid, Susan. No matter what anyone says about you, no one can take that away from you. You can be proud of your son." "I sure am." She watched her boy get back up off the ground, dusting off his jeans while one of the ranch hands lifted his hand, showing him how to hold it. She wanted to run to him, hug him, hold him close, protect him. She watched him fight for his sister against 3 older boys. He was so much like his father. "I'm proud of him. Don't let him get hurt, Max, please." Max laughed. "He's not the one you need to worry about. That guy is vicious. He doesn't have a kind bone in his body. Where's my husband? Why isn't he here?" "Irrigation problems. He probably doesn't know what's going on yet. He'll be back soon. The ranch isn't going to close because of one little fight." Susan remembered Grace's words about Cindy being her mother's daughter. Easy. Her reputation had made her daughter a target. It wasn't fair. It was all unfair. When would this nightmare end? Next chapter? "Oh God, this is going to be bad," Officer Banks said, pressing a handkerchief to his nose. His partner took some Vicks out of his pocket and rubbed a little into each nostril. He handed the bottle to the young man. He'd learn. They called out to each other again, but there was no answer. The house was in disarray. Papers were scattered everywhere. Dirty dishes were in the living room and kitchen. The strongest smell came from the back of the house. They made their way to the bedroom, their eyes watering from the stench. "Son of a bitch," Banks sighed. "This is just awful." The man was lying on a pile of photographs, large and small. Letters were scattered at his feet. A half-empty bottle of vodka and empty pill packets told them everything they needed to know. "I never understood how a man could kill himself over a woman." Officer Gilroy shook his head. He turned to his protege. "Call for backup. There's nothing more for us to do here." Next chapter. Jonathan sat with the Eagles, all eyes on him. "I thought he'd run away, but he didn't chicken out," said Grandpa. "To leave this house and all the memories. That's not what I wanted. Maybe he really was depressed." Jonathan shrugged. "I don't care. That bastard got what he deserved." "Are you still going through with this?" his grandfather asked. Carl Jenkins joined the conversation. "She's doing well at the store. It'll be a shame to lose her. All she talks about is you." I don't know if it matters, but she seems to like you." Jonathan nodded. "I believe she does. as much as she's capable of understanding the concept. No, it doesn't change anything. She's back now, but who knows when she'll start this nonsense again. I want to move on. Get this over with. The old man reached out and squeezed his wrist painfully. Those old hands could have crushed a walnut. They could have ground his bones to a pulp. Jonathan understood. It was the closest thing to a hug he had ever received. It's going to be hard on the kids. They're good kids, you know. I don't know how they got out of that bitch, but they did. I know, Jonathan said. I'm not going to cut her out of their lives. I just can't forget what she did. A whole damn year. Next chapter. Susan was tired but feeling better. It had been more than 3 months since her world had fallen apart. It had been hard, painful, to be honest. But now things were getting better. The time spent at the ranch with the kids had done them good, brought them back to life. She smiled to herself. She knew that her decision to open up to new things, to do everything she had done with Rich and even more, had helped her. She squeezed her cheek slightly, feeling a pleasant ache. She couldn't stand it too often, but Jonathan loved it. He deserved her. All of her. He loved her. He forgave her. Last night, he held her and kissed her. The words came out almost as a whisper, close to her ear. I love you, Susan. I always have. And I always will. I want you to know that I forgive you. For everything. I'm sorry. She burst into tears and clung to him desperately. His strong arms wrapped around her, holding her up. He took her again, gently, long and slow. Love. Everything would be okay, better than okay. Next chapter. Jonathan came home early. It was time to clean up, but the morning rain had prevented that. Uncle Len knew it was an important day for him, so he let him go. On the lawn in front of the house, he noticed an eviction notice. The house was mortgaged. They had 30 days to vacate the apartment. Half of the children's belongings had already been moved to their grandfather's house, slowly, quietly. They were told that these rooms would be for those who stayed for the weekend. He knew it would be difficult. It shouldn't have been. She was a lousy cheater. But 11 years, 3 children, and a few months of remorse softened the pain a little. A little, but not enough. He took a shower, put on his best shirt and clean jeans. He looked at his tanned face in the mirror, trimmed his beard, and examined himself. A new man was looking back at him. In many ways, he was better, but even sadder. This was not what he wanted out of life. He returned to the living room, opened a bottle of her favorite wine, and poured 2 glasses. He placed them on the coffee table, carefully arranging the papers on either side. Jonathan adjusted their position once more. She did this, not me. All he had to do was remember her, how she spoke to him that first evening. His magnificent lover, who understood him, who threatened him, who left their home and climbed into that bastard's bed, leaving him in unbearable pain. What kind of vicious, selfish bitch could do that? The memories freed him from all doubt. The door opened and he stood up nervously. Jonathan, why is there a for sale sign on our house? Are we moving? He walked over to her, took her hand, and sat her down. Baby, he said, the word catching in his throat. We need to talk. She looked at the table, at the 2 glasses of wine, at the stack of papers next to them. She looked at the papers again and finally recognized the words. Original divorce papers. She turned and looked into his eyes. Searching for sadness or anger, she saw emptiness. Why? She asked, trembling. You've been cheating on me for a year, Susan. You insisted I put up with it. I'm not built for this. I'm sorry. She could barely breathe, her hands shaking. But you said you loved me, that you forgave me. I love you, and I always will. You were my first true love and the best wife a man could ask for 9 wonderful years. The mother of my beautiful children. An amazing mother. I forgive you. I forgive you for everything. But it's not enough. Please don't do this, Jonathan. You don't want a divorce. It will be awful. I'll fight to the end, I swear. I need my family. I don't want a divorce. It's over. It's been filed. The bailiff will be here soon to deliver the papers. We have 30 days to move out of the house. I'll take the kids to their grandfather's. He has room for them. And you know how much they love the ranch. I won't take them away from you. We'll have joint custody, and you can see them as much as you want. No, you're not taking my children. I have rights. Where will you live with them? How will you take care of them? Here, I'm leaving them here. I won't let you sell my house, never. It's not our house anymore, it belongs to the bank. It's been foreclosed on. She stared at him in shock, trying to comprehend his words. Mortgaged? How? I haven't paid the mortgage in 4 months. I don't make enough money anymore. But, but that's impossible. Why didn't I know? Because I didn't want you to know. And then she understood. It had been a divorce from the start. He never intended to give her a chance. It had all been planned. How could you do this to me? For 4 whole months? Cheating on me? How could you? I just had to remember those 2 years when you lied to me. For a whole year you slept with another man. Gave him your love, your affection. You made a mockery of our marriage. It was very easy, to be honest. She felt the anger rising inside her. I'm still their mother. The court will give them to me. You know it will. I'll make your life hell, Jonathan. You'll never see them if you do this. I swear you won't see them. Where will you live? How will you take care of them? He asked quietly. I'll probably go back to Rich. He'll take me in. He loves me. She knew there was a little chance of that. He had cut off all contact with her, but still, once she explained, Don't you know? Jonathan asked, his face reflecting his concern. Know what? Rich is dead. He killed himself. Sleeping pill overdose. Susan heard the words, trying with all her might not to believe them. Deep down, she knew it was true. Without her, he would sink back into depression. She remembered how he had behaved after she left him the first time. It wasn't her fault. She had tried to talk to him, to see him. He was the one who cut her off. She had tried. She had driven to see him. She had seen him. She didn't want it to end the way it had. With silence. Oh, God. Was he already dead? How long ago? Why? Did she really just leave? Did they do the same thing to him that they did to her? Oh, no. He couldn't have survived that. Not in a million years. He wasn't strong enough, not without her. Maybe it was a lie. Jonathan lied to her, trying to hurt her the way she hurt him. It had to be a lie, right? He couldn't be dead, not Rich. Jonathan hugged her, waiting for her to stop shaking. Her eyes were glassy, unresponsive. Susan, he repeated softly. Susan. Finally, her breathing calmed, and he felt her press herself against him. She began to cry softly at first, then louder. He pulled her close and held her. He's dead, isn't he? She finally sighed. It's been 5 days. I'm sorry, I thought you knew. What am I going to do now? She whispered plaintively. I think your parents will take you in, at least for a while. You have a job. You're still a beautiful woman. You'll find someone who can accept what I couldn't. You'll be able to see the children as much as you want. I want them to be with me, she said. I know. Your parents don't have room. I don't know how you'll be able to afford a house big enough for the 4 of you. You don't want them living 3 to a room, do you? She shook her head. Your grandfather has plenty of room. Miguel's niece would look after the house and the children when I'm not there. Your grandfather isn't thrilled about you, but he's agreed to give you free access to the house and the children. You could help me. Alimony and child support will allow you to. I make less than $20,000 a year. I can pay maybe $500. That's not enough. They have a huge house, 10,000 acres of land. They don't need anything. My grandfather is very wealthy. He adores them. What can you offer them? They're my children, she sobbed. Yes, they are. And they always will be. Why can't we go back to the way things were, Jonathan? We love each other. The last few months have been so good. I made a mistake. Don't punish me forever. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'm so sorry. I can never trust you again. I always thought you would leave me for someone else. You came to my house. I can't do this. I don't want to. I've moved on. And it's time for you to move on too. I can't. I know I can't. Without my family, I'll die. I have nothing to live for. I hope you don't die. It'll be hard on the kids. The kids? Don't you care about them? Of course I care, but unfortunately it's not enough. Your betrayal was too deep, too complete. You destroyed me. She flinched at the condemnation in his words. And now you're going to destroy me. Yes? Next chapter. She tried to resist him, but she didn't have the strength. She was broken. Her parents took her side, angry at Jonathan for abandoning her children. During a long, painful dinner, he managed to let them know that they could see the children whenever they wanted. Susan could see them without restrictions. When she came to her senses, if she had room for them, They would decide on joint custody. The dinner was at his grandfather's house, and it was obvious that the children were happy there. 3 new puppies kept them entertained. Cindy rode every day and insisted on showing her grandfather and grandmother her new horse. Joey was incredibly proud. He was dressed like the ranch hands, his boots were dusty, and his little cowboy hat was dirty and twisted at the sides. Nancy sat on her great-grandfather's lap, happy as a clam, while he read to her, giving her time to talk. She had him wrapped around her little finger, and everyone knew it. The meticulous old man had finally found his soulmate. They were home, happy. She couldn't take that away from them. She signed the papers and continued her boring, miserable life. There was no alimony. She earned as much as he did, on paper. He didn't ask for child support and offered joint custody with him as the primary custodian. They had practically nothing except a few pieces of furniture that Jonathan kept in the yard so she could pick them up whenever she wanted. In the end, he wrote her a check for half of their joint assets, $1,000 in 2011 years, $112 a year. A week after the divorce, Susan lost her job at Jenkins Hardware. She was told that times were tough, and she was one of the newest employees. She lay in her childhood bed at home and thought about what had happened to her life. She had had everything. Now she had nothing. Absolutely nothing. Next chapter. Susan met with her grandmother. They sat in the living room drinking tea. "You look terrible, dear," said Grandma Bridget. "I know," Susan replied quietly, unable to meet her grandmother's gaze. She remembered the harsh words, condemning and hurtful. Her grandfather still didn't acknowledge her existence. "It's been over a year, Susan. You need to get over it. Move on with your life. You're still young, barely 30. 35, Grandma," the old woman laughed. "Child, God, what I would give to be 35 again. Do you want to trade places?" "No, dear. Not for anything in the world. I would never do that to your grandfather. He deserves better." "Am I that terrible?" "No, dear. You did a terrible thing. But you can get through this." She took a sip of tea. "Are you just stopping by or do you need something?" Susan looked up at the elderly woman. 56 years of marriage. Maybe she knew the answers. "I want him back, Grandma. I know he's lonely. He goes on dates, but he never stays long. I see the way he looks at me during Sunday dinner. We were the perfect couple. I was an idiot. I ruined everything. I want him back. I want my family back." "That's too much, dear. What you did to him was wrong, very wrong. Men have pride, and you did everything you could to destroy it." "I know. I'll do whatever it takes. Do you think it's possible? Maybe I'm just dreaming." The elderly woman leaned back in her chair and looked at her daughter's child. Broken. She was broken, and there was no trace of the happy girl she used to be. She was still 35. She could be beautiful if she wanted to. She had a good figure. Once upon a time, she made him fall in love with her. She paid for it and perhaps learned her lesson. Perhaps. You know it won't be easy to make him fall in love with you again. Susan shuddered at the words. Difficult, but not impossible. "Whatever it takes, Grandma. I swear. I'll do anything. Just tell me what I need to do. Anything. Please." Bridget looked at her robe, at the photo of her with her 4 best friends. Cheerleaders, so many years ago. The most popular girls in school. The original Fab Five. They were all married now. Emma had celebrated her 50th birthday last month. Josephine had remarried 10 years ago. May Darren rest in peace. Her Jimmy had been a good man, but Darren was special. Amazing. Thank God he had taken her secret to his grave. She was still ashamed of that lost weekend, ashamed and worried. 55 years had passed since they left school, and all 5 were still best friends. They were still as carefree as ever. What they didn't know about men wouldn't fill a teacup. "Let me call you. We've got a lot of work to do, you know?" Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, so subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.